Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Breakfast Gatorchatter. I just accidentally started it about 15 seconds too soon, so anybody cut off at the beginning, sorry about that. What are we on week 10 now? Beautiful Sunday morning. Um, Ole Miss week. It was Ole Miss week, and as Jason and I talked about last week, there was no reason to think that our Gators would compete, particularly because they were on the road. And we saw what happened with Kentucky and so many other teams on the road. Ole Miss fighting for a playoff spot. We know the whole story with them. Ole Miss was a double-digit favorite. But I had mentioned last week that that's exactly why Florida would keep it close, maybe even win. It wouldn't really be that surprising. Florida's played, I don't know what are we at, 4 or 5 top 10 teams now, and has been competitive in most of them, if not all of them. Where we mainly struggle is against the bad teams, the USFs and the Kentuckys and teams like that. So now, as they came out, it looked to be same old because the slow start, they don't want to be there. Lagway's first couple passes were just absolutely awful in the dirt. And when it happened, you're asking yourself, why are they doing this to us again? How bad is DJ Lagway going to be again? What's it going to take to get DJ Lagway set down until he figures things out? And Ole Miss storms down the field. Ole Miss jumps out to a 10-0 lead in a flash. And boy, I don't know how many Gator fans at that point walked away, went to do their laundry, went to take their kids to the park, take a shower, or whatever. I had actually heard that my own parents had turned the station and were watching the Georgia game. I don't know. I haven't talked to them yet. I don't know if that's true, but it probably is. Florida came back. Florida bounced back. Lagway hit a long ball a deep ball to Abrams, and everything seemed to kind of pick up from there. They started moving the ball. They couldn't stop Ole Miss on the other side. They couldn't stop Lacey. And when you can't stop the run, you know it's going to be a long day. Generally, if you can't stop the run, you're not going to win. But Florida had a halftime lead. Florida had 24 points at halftime on the road. The problem is there was going to be a second half. And everyone's got the same feeling. If there's a close game, Florida's not going to win these games. Any of them. And what happened, in short, was Florida ended up getting shut out in the second half. Not a single point. And Ole Miss could have made things far worse, but they made their own questionable decisions and really strange head-scratching play calling in the red zone, inside the 10, inside the 5. Florida couldn't stop Lacey at all. Why Kiffin wasn't giving the ball to Lacey 4 times in a row, I have no idea. You're not going to stop Lacey at the 1-yard line 4 plays in a row. But so Florida got to hang around a little bit, and at one point, Florida was driving. They were in field goal range. 3rd down, Lagway rolls out. Got a receiver quadruple covered. He tries to force it in there, gets tipped and intercepted. And it didn't really surprise anyone. And it was a pass he shouldn't have thrown. Looked to be well off where it needed to be, even if it hadn't gotten tipped. It was just a pass he shouldn't have thrown. He should have gone down. He should have run, thrown it away. Anything that might have changed the outcome. And it makes you question: is DJ Lagway the kind of guy you're going to win with? Is he a winner? It was a bad play, but at the same time, we've got a coaching staff where losing has permeated. It's a stench. They're infected with it, and a coaching staff that's infected with losing, it just like the flu infects everyone around them, and it infects the players. And that's why when this is over, they all need to go, because you can't keep a leper, any of them, hanging around the program where they'll continue to infect people. Billy Gonzalez, all these guys, gone. We can't keep a single member of the staff. And some of the players who are who we think might be permanently infected, We can try to delouse them, but if not, they need to go as well because we've got to get the loser out of this program. When it comes to these close games, Florida is going to find a way to lose. That's what they do. I found myself almost astonished. I was annoyed about it at the end of the game. I don't know why 15 years of this. I don't know why I don't know why I was astonished, angry. I don't know why. You know, and was you look at Lane Kiffin on this side. Was Lane Kiffin that impressive last night? No, he wasn't. It was weird. The whole thing with the coaching search is it's a strange situation. Jason and I we'll talk about that. I'll talk about that more with Jason a little bit. But Ole Miss and Kiffin's post game comments and the fact that they're in a terrible spot. Ole Miss is in a terrible spot. Kiffin's in a terrible spot. Florida's in a terrible spot because now they're fighting for a playoff spot, and you don't want to appear like you're just walking out on a team that's still in it. If Florida had won last night, that might have changed things. The expanded playoff is what caused this. If we still had the 4-team playoff, then Ole Miss would be out of it, and this wouldn't be an issue. But the expanded playoff keeps kind of everybody in it, and if Ole Miss wins their last game against Mississippi State, they're likely, almost certainly in. So I don't know what's going to happen. And it's not just Florida can't wait forever, but Ole Miss can't wait forever. Ole Miss, who I firmly believe is losing Kiffin to somebody, they have to make a hire as well. So it's just a bad situation for all involved, and God only knows how it's really going to play out. I'm going to bring in Jason, and we're going to talk a little more about that. If I can find him. Jason.
Hey.
Before we get into Kiffin, why don't you tell me what you thought of the game itself?
Yeah, well, I mean, all the things that we've said already. These guys compete. There's no after the obvious rope dropping last week in Lexington. It was encouraging to see these guys, just for their sake, have a little bit of pride in working. But we saw all the same things. The secondary cannot cover. These guys are horrible. They deployed their patented watch, catch, and tackle defense all night long. Does a defensive back even break up a pass? And the few they made a play on, their quarterback got it in there somehow. I thought there were at least a half dozen balls that could have been there. There was one that should have been a pick six. Well, we have. I don't think we have team speed as a high priority. I'm sure they're excellent fellows in the classroom, though. But but there was at least six or so balls that I thought we could have picked, and then otherwise we just watched them throw the ball. You said they couldn't stop them. Well, that was it. We were standing 15 yards past. They let the fellow throw the ball short and tackled him. I'll zip up my zipper, getting comments on my wardrobe today, Plant. I've got the hoodie on. I've got a little Jordan flu game going. Anyway, so it was more of the same. I enjoy watching Miles Graham play football, Aaron. In fact, if everybody left and I got to choose one fella, it wouldn't be Lagway or Tramel Jones. It would be Miles Graham. That is a leader. He took responsibility after the game last week for the total lack of passion and enthusiasm, and it showed on the field. You can make repentance, but unless there's change, it's just words. Well, we saw it from Miles Graham in there. And Lagway, I mean, we called it from the first week. We threw the red flags up, saying, the fundamentals aren't there. He's Rex Grossmaning things. He's backfooting, and nothing's changed on there. And it goes to why we're letting Ryan O'Hara have any sort of say-so in this thing. He's calling plays. We talked about his Fisher-Price walkie-talkie. They need to jam the signal before the Tennessee and Florida State games because it's miserable to watch. And Lagway with that throw, Aaron, you were irate in the box last night. You said it. You don't know why you were so fired up. Well, because you would think that fellas would watch tape. A guy like Lagway, who's a high character guy, would sit and go, I cannot keep doing that. And then he keeps doing it. That that against the grain Pat Mahomes type, like he's completing the double play out there. It made it easy for the guy to just tip that ball up and get picked, and that was the ball game. You were in smack range already, you know. And the one thing you can say is that Florida has looked a lot more aggressive down there, but it's beside the point. Did we really want to lose that game? Did we really want to win that game? And because that would really, and I had questions. We're going to move into to Kiffin territory here, but if Kiffin loses that game to that poisoned coaching staff and nothing to play for, 3-6 team, when you're at home, and we'll talk about this too, with the biggest crowd in Ole Miss history, really? That was the biggest crowd? Would they have a squirrel shoot at halftime? Did we really want to win that game and come out of there? I mean, we did because we were all fired up after the game. But, I thought the timeouts, there's a lot of stuff that if you look and you say, you accuse Napier of time management stuff, I thought the timeout, before the quarter end, I thought we got ourselves time and we used it. We went down and scored, but the second half was a disaster. Florida, and this is another good reason just to exorcise ourselves from the entire coaching staff. The nut worst fourth quarter team in college football, bar none. It's statistical. We can't do anything in the fourth quarter. It's like the computer turns the cheat mode all the way to the top. When we get into the fourth quarter, we can't even. I'm surprised we just don't spike ourselves when we're out there, because it's the worst team in college football in the fourth quarter, and the whole second half was like that.
Well, and on top of that, then you have the situation where the pass interference is called properly, and a guy picks it up, which is very rare. But
league office called there. They got to protect that playoff team. The money's too big now. But no,
Florida can never get a break. The ball never bounces their way in these situations.
We don't earn the breaks.
Right, exactly.
I see this in pro basketball all the time too. If you've established yourselves as that, you get the calls. And say what you want. Georgia started turning things around with the officials. Well, they always get them, blue bloods and all. But yeah, I mean, you're not going to get that. But it was ridiculous to get that called up. And of course, Ole Miss fans cried. Makeup call for they had a Frank Costanza list of grievances also about the officiating. But that was a pretty obvious one that should have been called. But what are we going to do anyway? We're on the 20. It would have kept it alive just to throw a pick maybe.
Yeah.
And I wasn't enthused about our chances at that point after the tip ball interception on the second baseman type pass that Lagway tried to throw. I don't think we would have gotten anything done because we haven't all year. We've never done it.
Well, Ole Miss had 538 yards or something. Their running back had 235 yards, a career high. Normally, when that happens, you get totally blown out. So here you are at home, running wild, and you still are lucky to win, basically. So that kind of goes into Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss situation. Let me say this: under the current circumstances, let's say, assuming we're going to hire someone and we're not doing this Billy Gonzalez 1-year thing, because that's not happening.
That's not happening.
Under the current circumstances, where Florida's at as a program and the available coaches, Lane Kiffin is the best choice for Florida. Let me say that up front. Right. However, to me, Florida's never going to win a championship with Lane Kiffin, ever. Now, that I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Right. He was unimpressive last night. He's got a long track record. You're going to win a lot of games. Are you going to win any big games? That's the question. But we're at the point where we're Florida's a bad team. This isn't about winning championships at this moment. This is about taking the next step up, becoming relevant. Kiffin brings the program a lot of attention, which is good. We want people to notice we exist again. He's brash. He talks trash. He trolls. I think generally fans like that if it's your guy, that is. So I think it would make Florida football interesting again. There's no question about it. And I'm for the hire, and I'll be behind Kiffin. But it's not like we're hiring Urban Meyer.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be a totally different feeling. Where I think we may have championship aspirations, but that's just where we are.
He's matured a lot over the years, personally, obviously, but on the field coaching as well. The hope would be that he can still there's still ceiling left in him, that he can patch the holes in there. Now, what did I like? He's fired up. Aaron, he probably flipped a couple of those penalties by working the refs. Oh my gosh, we haven't had a coach do that since Boom was here. I can't even figure out why we're so passive on the sidelines with Mullen. I guess he did get fired up occasionally, but I did like that. Lane Kiffin also spreads the field way more. If you were watching the Skycast, or even if you're on the regular feed, you would see Florida had to cover sideline to sideline every play. That's good. That's what Josh Heupel does at Tennessee, and that's what opens those lanes for that gigantic rushing day that they have. So I loved seeing that in Lane Kiffin. Even though his play calling. I mean, remember last year when we beat him in the swamp? He kept giving that big fella, even though he'd had a lot of success, he kept feeding him, even though we were stuffing that thing. He was determined to do it. So there's always going to be some head-scratching things there. But I think overall, as Gator fans and Spurrier fans, and even Urban, because Urban had the spread, I think we'll like having that there if, in fact, we get it. But to your point, there is some fool's gold in how people are going in with Lane Kiffin. First of all, never prioritize defense. We saw it again. He let us score 24 points and a half. Now, of course, second half that got shut down. But there's reasons why he hasn't done it on there. So there's a little bit of fool's gold. I watched some of the plays. There was some questionable third and 6 or third and 8, and he ran the ball. Oh, Aaron Bland. 3rd and 8 and you run the ball? Oh, shame. I mean, that's Napier-like in there. He did the razzle-dazzle at the goal line, he didn't need to do that. And I would be screaming. If he were the Gator coach, I'd be like, you don't need to do that. You wouldn't do that with Tebow. I don't remember Spurrier doing too much like that. But, and there was sideways passing. There was stuff that I think Gator fans, if it were Kiffin coaching against a 3-6 team at home, ranked 7th in the nation, and it was a 1-score game in the fourth quarter, we would be furious at that. Furious. But we come at it from a different perspective right now. We're desperate. We are desperate, and we will take a return to relevancy, you called it, a return to competency, maybe, especially offensively. We'll take it. But Lane Kiffin leading us to the promised land, like Spurrier, or actually probably he's more like Spurrier, because it took Steve a while to figure out how to be a championship coach. Maybe Lane can do that. But, Steve was always good for a 30-6 or 45-3, or, Steve was good for some of those too, where you didn't expect him, but we won at home. And I would expect that under Lane, with the kind of talent he can get, would be good. But you heard it here on Gatorchatter first. There's red flags in the mix here. There's some fool's gold. You nailed it. He's by far the best we can get. We should absolutely pursue that as much as possible, but temper the expectations on there. Hold them accountable. Championship is the goal. Always hold it accountable, but don't expect Lane Kiffin to walk in next year and be able to be in the top 5 next year. It'd be great, but
Well,
We'll
you would
see.
hope the defense thing you mentioned, which has never been his strong suit. He was like when Will Muschamp was coach. Muschamp hated offense, so he didn't recruit offense because he hated offense. I think
He
Kiffin
was
doesn't care.
offended by the forward pass. Offended by it.
See,
See what happens when we try to throw Treon Harris?
the early in his career, Kiffin relied on Monty, his dad, who was the DC
Right.
who did care, who lived and breathed defense,
Oh,
and
that's
he
great.
doesn't have that. Too bad Monty's not still around. We might have taken him
Been
as
fun.
well.
All-timer.
And of course, recruiting, he's never been that strong. But recruiting's a different world now. Recruiting is different, so it's impossible to say really anymore who's good, who's bad when it comes to
Right.
the portal and the NIL and all that stuff. That the post game conference, which the whole nation had their eyes on, they were all waiting. They were, what's he going to say? What's he going to say? And if Kiffin is staying at Ole Miss, he'd say he was staying at Ole Miss. That's what he would say. I'm staying at Ole Miss. Okay. Because he knows the entire nation is watching. He doesn't say it.
And he doesn't want to be a liar.
It's clear. Let's just put it this way. It's clear at the very least he's highly considering leaving.
Well,
but
yeah.
Jason, here's Ole Miss. They're going into a bye because there was rumors that this was going to be announced possibly today, right?
This afternoon. Yeah.
This afternoon, yeah. What are they supposed to do? What is Ole Miss supposed to do? What is Kiffin supposed to do? Is UF supposed to just keep waiting? What the heck is going to happen here?
Well, I mean, the noise is loud, Aaron. The noise is loud that this is happening today about the same time we got the call on Billy Napier. So we called it on this show in the morning, and then in the afternoon it happened. I would say all the things you said are absolutely right. And if he's going to leave, this is the week to do it. Gives Ole Miss 2 weeks to prepare. Lane gets to come into Florida and start, getting the head start on what they need for the recruiting class and being the Gator head coach. There's been no other chatter coming out of thing. So if you made me wager, I would wager that there's going to be an announcement this afternoon that Lane Kiffin's the next head coach of the University of Florida.
Okay,
that's what I think is going to happen. And today will have to come and go without it happening to make me think otherwise. This is the time.
So if that happens, is this Kiffin coach their game in 2 weeks?
No. He's resigning and moving he's starting his Gator head coaching career, and then someone will take over. They're at Ole Miss to get them through the rest of their schedule and their playoffs.
Which causes more problems because a lot of those staff members he's probably going to want to bring with him. Okay, so I don't know what that would mean.
Yeah.
But wouldn't this be unprecedented, Jason, for a coach to leave with, I'm talking national title implications still on the line. I don't remember anything like that.
Yeah, but come on. We watched a lot. They're not winning a national championship at Ole Miss. It's amazing he's gotten them into the playoffs and, formidable enough to get in the top, and it's not that difficult for us, obviously. But it's not that difficult.
Jason, Lane Kiffin has been a villain his whole career. At Tennessee, he acted like an idiot all year, and the fans defended him, and then the first chance he got by, and they were so furious. They stormed into the streets and burned couches and let things on fire,
Shambles.
Right.
Shambles.
They despised him, and then he goes to USC.
I
he
bet
bombs
they still
out.
Do. They still despise him.
He bombs out at USC. They fire him on the tarmac.
Yeah.
He ends up going to Alabama, and he's a successful OC, but he had drinking problems, and Saban was so ticked that he ended up firing him or telling him to get lost and take the FAU job or whatever. I don't know if my timeline is right, but I mean, can Kiffin do this? Now Kiffin's talking about walking out on a playoff team. Okay, is he going to do this? This guy, we'd be taking in a villain, and he's just adding on to the legend of he's going to be hated everywhere. And is he going to do it to us? in 3 or 4
I,
years.
oh,
The NFL comes calling,
Florida,
bye,
maybe that's
Wow.
you have to take that chance. Obviously, if you're Florida, you have to take the chance on that. But all the things that you just said, and this game this weekend showed why Florida is a destination, not a stepping stone. And why is that? Obviously, the pros are a different thing. Even Spurrier left for the pros, but as a college football program, Florida's elite. Why? Well, guess what was announced last night? Florida Tennessee night game. We're 3-7. We have no business being on a prime time game at all. They should be scheduling us for like those London NFL time, 9:30 a.m. They should have no business scheduling us anywhere. But there we are. Ole Miss announced, and they're fired up. Biggest crowd ever. That's their record crowd, 68,000, which is what we get for a spring game out there. Why? But why did it happen? The Gators are in town, 3-6, fired up. Of course, they're a top 10 team. If they weren't, they obviously they'd be out in the woods somewhere in a blind, you know. But there we are. There we are again. We are a destination, and that doesn't change whether we're 3-6, 3-7, everything. We are the logo holds weight. And it does. As much as this administration and as much as this athletic director has tried to trample it, the logo survives. And Florida, is a destination. And Lane Kiffin, with all the things that have been mentioned, even though he's matured, I think he kind of likes being the villain, Aaron Bland. And it's the heel turn of heel turns to abandon a team in the top 10, headed for the playoffs, to take the job at Florida. And nobody in the media, nobody outside of Gainesville wants it to happen. I think all that noise, I think, makes it look even more attractive to Lane Kiffin to take the Florida job. Oh, you don't want me to do that, huh? You don't think, Florida's not the school. Oh, Florida's like, I forget, Virginia Tech or some ridiculous statement people were making this week. He's going to march right into Gainesville, wear that visor, sneer at kind of smirk at the camera like the old ball coach did, and he's going to try to fill those shoes because that's the kind of thing he wants to do. And if he didn't want to do it, he would have signed the extension by now.
That's true. Well, unlike our last 4 coaches, I think he would actually go down to Spurrier's office and sit down and talk to him about strategy, and pick his brain, and the other 4 coaches, it seemed like it was I'm going to do my own thing. I don't need Steve Spurrier. I don't think Lane Kiffin would be like that. I think he idolizes Spurrier, and for good reason. It was a huge innovator in college football, period. Okay, so you're predicting today. This afternoon. We're gonna hear something about a press conference.
I do. I mean, this isn't sunshine pumping good time fairly, but if you look at all the variables that we've discussed already, I mean, why has everything kind of gone like it has? We're following the yellow brick road, and the Emerald City's up ahead, and I think that that's where this road leads. That's why he doesn't want to be like Saban and just lie. I'm not taking that job. That's what Saban would do.
Right.
That's not what Lane Kiffin's doing. He's trying to honor, Oxford by not saying that. I don't want to talk. That would be an insult to these boys who just did what they did. They, not we, they. You can read a lot into it. So either it happens today at 3:00 or whenever, or it's not happening, or we're in for a long, painful off season in there. So I say it's happening. I think there was already an agreement in place. I think, watch your phones after this is published. And if it's published, before it's announced, mazel tov to us. But I think it happens. That's my prediction. It happens.
Jason, last thing. I really want to win the last 2 games.
Yeah.
They're
Yes,
at
we do.
home, which is very, very good news for us.
Right.
Tennessee. We'll talk about Florida State next week, but Tennessee. What? Any quick thoughts on the game this week?
Well, I think Tennessee was liking what they saw at Lexington, that maybe we'll drop the rope and let that happen, but had to be, we still held Ole Miss to whatever it was, 24 real points. They punch in that last little bit, 21, whatever. I think that we're going to see very similar approach from Heupel next week. I think the defense is kind of up to it. I'd like to see a little bit more pressure in there, but I think Miles Graham tightened that defense. They shouldn't take him off the field. I know he needs to rest, but they shouldn't take him off the field. I think it's a close game, and until we drop until the stronghold falls against Tennessee, I would never pick against Florida against Tennessee right now, especially in the swamp.
Well, if Kiffin's announced before that time, I think the crowd is going to be even more insane than usual because they're going to be very excited about the future. And we all hate Tennessee anyway. We can all agree on that. So the swamp is everything. It'd be different if it was on the road, but it's easy to feel good about that when you're at home. So that's good. So, okay, Jason, well, you have a lot to live up to.
Yeah. David's holding me to it in the chat. Detroit Gator, thanks for chatting in there. You're absolutely right on the comments because you're agreeing with me. And that means you're right. Right on.
Okay, well, if we hear something about a press conference, the traffic in Gatorchatter is going to spike so high that only a dog will be able to hear it. So we'll see. Jason, thanks a lot. Talk to you next week.
See ya.
Okay. That would be something. Are we going to hear something shortly about a scheduled press conference today? Been a rumor for a while. It would be strange. A little bit unprecedented, but is it unprecedented for Lane Kiffin? I think no. I think it's Lane Kiffin all the way. So thanks everybody. Head to Gator Chatter. Especially if there is a press conference announced, a lot of people are going to head to Gator Chatter. If you want to know what's going on in the Gator Nation, head to Gator Chatter. And if you like this video, give us a like. How about another subscriber? We hope to expand these. If Kiffin becomes the coach, so we're going to have, I think, a lot more to talk about, even leading up to next season. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful week.